Hello, sports fan, and welcome back to the Packs for Breakfast All-Star Team. And welcome back to my voice kind of being back. It's not kind of. It's maybe back. But we are here with these 1990 and 1991 Fleer cards. You can tell 91 because it's hideous. Oh my God. What were they thinking? Why was every team yellow? It's a reverse Pittsburgh Pirates theme. It's like on the Pittsburgh Pirates players, if you see their, cards, it looks great. But look at how terrible it looks on Galarraga being an Expo with a red, white, and blue color scheme. It's awful. It's awful. I don't know why in 91 they chose this. But they did. They did. The 90s were just getting started. And they said, you know what's going to be the big color? Yellow. That's what Fleer was thinking. So we picked all these cards on Sunday morning. We do this every Sunday morning, not this Sunday morning. So it's a lie. I just lied to you because I said every Sunday morning, and it won't be this Sunday morning. But usually we do it most Sunday mornings at 6 a.m. Mountain Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. We live open up a bunch of packs cards, make an all-star team from what we're doing. So you'll notice a couple of these guys. Cal Ripken Jr. Cal Ripken Jr., if you've watched any of these videos, you've seen him probably in at least 3 or 4 of them. I think this is his 4th one of our all-star teams. He's just one of the best players ever. So we always put him on there. I mean, you know about the 2,632 games in a row. He played 8 seasons at third base. He had 431 career home runs, 276 batting average, over 3,000 hits, 2-time AL MVP, had a couple of gold gloves, and won a World Series. Cal Ripken's he's one of the best, and it's hard to pick against him when you open up the packs of cards, especially when a lot of the shortstops that you're pulling don't even match up in a way where you could go, fan vote, put him in. No. So we take Cal Ripken. Next to him, Roberto Alomar. Obviously, this means that we did not pick Craig Biggio or Ryan Sandberg. So if we don't have one of them, we get Roberto Alomar. Roberto Alomar, he played with 7 different teams. He played for, we played 5 years with Toronto. We played 3 years with Cleveland, the Padres, and Baltimore, and a couple of years with the Mets and it looks like the Padres. I think so. My handwriting is awful. I can't even read it. This was written actually a while ago, and I'm old and my eyes don't see very well. One with Arizona probably too. Roberto Alomar had 210 career home runs, batted 300, and had 474 stolen bases. He's a Hall of Famer. He was one of the best at second base. We kind of forget about him, but we shouldn't. So we put him on the All-Star team again. I think this is his 2nd All-Star team, maybe even his 3rd. The weird part is when you're picking these teams, shortstop and second base, they really are limited with the greats. Because you can find a bunch of pedestrian guys, you can find a bunch of utility infielders that might have played a few years at shortstop or second, but finding great second baseman isn't as easy as finding a great first baseman because the criteria is different. A great second baseman just has to be able to bat 250, maybe drive in 50, 60 runs, maybe, make sure he can field his position, has maybe a 98 field percentage or something like that where he's, making mistakes only 2% of the time. But when you're talking about the great ones, they usually don't end up at second. They usually end up at short. But we do have some great second basemen that we can always point to. And Alomar, Sandberg, guys like that. They were great. So let's move to a couple of players we haven't had a chance to talk about. Over at third base, this was a guy I was excited to get to talk about. Paul Molitor. Paul Molitor is one of those cards. It's like I'm going, are you kidding me? We've never pulled a Paul Molitor because I've never gotten to even push Chris in the direction of, take Paul Molitor, put him at third. Paul Molitor had one heck of a career. You forget just how good he was. 306 career average. He hit 234 home runs, 3,319 hits. He's in that 3,000 club. 1,300 RBIs, 7-time All-Star. He also had 504 stolen bases. He played 21 seasons. He played with Milwaukee from 78 to 92. He played with Toronto from 93 to 95. Played with Minnesota from 96 to 98, where he finished off his career. He was voted into the Hall of Fame on his first ballot in 2004 with 85% of the vote. So the most home runs this guy ever hit, he had only 234. The most home runs he ever hit was 22 in 1993. The most RBIs he ever had was 113 in 1996. But he did do, he did drive in quite a few runs. 1,300 runs is nothing to complain about, that's for sure. He was the World Series MVP in the 93 World Series. In that World Series, he hit 500. He had 12 hits, 2 home runs. It's like he had 8 RBIs and he scored 10 runs. His career WAR is 75.6. Now the weird part, for as much as I like Molitor, I really remember him mostly as a Twin. And it's weird that I remember him mostly as a Twin. He only spent his last 3 years there. And that's what I remember him most as. I don't even remember that much about his years, because when I think of Toronto in those eras, I think of Cito Gaston as the coach. I think of Roberto Alomar. I think of Joe Carter. I think of, who was the pitcher that was there? It wasn't Dave Stieb. I don't think it was, maybe it was Jose Rio was for the Reds. And it's like, now I'm blanking on the pitcher. But they had a really good pitcher. I also think of John Olerud, who was a great Toronto Blue Jay. But I don't really think of Molitor. Now, to tell you how good Molitor was in his 21st season, his final season, he was 41 years old. He hit only 4 home runs, had 69 RBIs, 9 stolen bases still at 41. But he still batted .281 at 41 years old in 126 games. So he still played, 3/4 of the season? That's tough for young guys to do now. So I'm glad I got to talk about Paul Molitor. I'd like to see his card pulled a little bit more, because those numbers are definitely Hall of Fame worthy. And even the Hall of Fame voters said, first ballot, you're going in. So it was good to see. Now we're going to talk about a guy that's not in the Hall of Fame. But this is a guy that when I first started watching the Rockies, it's like, this is one of the Blake Street Bombers, the big cat. And I remember we got him from Montreal. We signed him as a free agent, or we got him I don't think we got him in the draft. I don't think we got him in the expansion draft, because he would have been a high pick. But I think we signed him as a free agent. Galarraga's numbers, and even I will admit this, even in 19 years, they were not Hall of Fame worthy. Now, he is in the Venezuelan Baseball Hall of Fame, but they're not quite Hall of Fame worthy. But they were good, and as a Rocky, he was definitely amazing. He was an anchor in the lineup. Don Baylor had helped him fix his swing a little bit. He had kind of that weird batting stance when he got here. I think he took it I think he got it in St. Louis. Oh, that's right. We got him from St. Louis. He went from Montreal to St. Louis for a year and then came to us. He batted .288 career. He had 399 home runs, 2,333 hits, 1,425 RBIs, 128 stolen bases. Not terrible. Here's a big problem for Andres Galarraga. 2,003 career strikeouts. That's right. He struck out 2,000 times plus. So as much as you loved him, it was home run or bust. But admittedly, he hit for a decent average, 288 over his career. He hit for a decent average. So he played for Montreal from 85 to 91. Played with them again at the end of his career in 2002. Played with St. Louis in 92, played with the Rockies. And I thought he played more years for us, but he really didn't, I guess. He played 93 to 97. He only put in 5 seasons. Then he went to the Braves. He played the 98 season, got hurt in 99, and then played the 2000 season. Then he went to Tampa Bay and San Francisco in 2001. Then went to Montreal. Then went back to San Francisco for a year. And then he finished off his career in Anaheim in 2004. He was a 5-time All-Star, 2 Gold Gloves. He was the NL batting champion in 1993. He batted .370 that year. Now, in 93, the Rockies weren't playing in Coors Field yet. They were playing at Mile High Stadium. Mile High Stadium had that incredibly short left field. Right-handed hitters had a field day. I remember watching pitchers at Mile High Stadium that would just flick their bat. It looks like they didn't make any contact, but that ball would just keep floating until it got into the stands. Mile High Stadium was a fun place to watch baseball, but it was not a baseball stadium. It's a great minor league ballpark because a lot of your minor leaguers don't have a ton of power. But it was definitely fun to watch, Galarraga and them play for their first couple years there. So he was the batting champ, not the home run champ, the batting champ in 93 with a .370 average. He was the home run leader with 47 home runs in 1996. So now they are at Coors Field. And he also had 150 RBIs. It was an amazing season for the Big Cat. He has a 31.7 career WAR. Here's the thing about Andres, and this is what hurts his Hall of Fame credentials. His Rockies career, he hit 172 of his home runs, 579 of his RBIs, and he batted .316. 5 years, he did the bulk of his damage. Basically, in 5 years of a 19-year career. Now, granted, they were in his prime pretty much. They were still in his prime. But you're talking almost half of his career home runs. It's like basically a little over a third of his career RBIs. And his batting average being .288 normally was .316 at Coors. And that's what I think kind of hurts him. So with all that being said, my voice is really starting to give out here. And I'm really having a tough time right now. So we are going to end it with, look at that. That is an amazing infield. Galarraga could field his position. Alomar could field his position. Cal, not the best defensive shortstop, but still serviceable, still good enough. And Molitor was good too. Oh, I don't think Molitor ever won a Gold Glove either. So, he was just a great hitter. But I got to talk about Galarraga, one of my favorite Rockies. And I'm excited. And that's All-Star for now.